Hey, what's up, everybody? Pastor Josh here. Man, I was in my office, and it's just too nice of a day here in North Dakota to be sitting in the office. So I thought I'd come outside and talk to you guys. I want to thank you guys for coming alongside of us and praying about this new church Engage that we're going to be planning over in Duluth. There's a lot of planning left yet. There's a lot of things left yet. But we do know that we're called to go there and that we're getting the okay and we're moving forward on it. So I just want to thank you so much for the effort that you guys have been putting in prayer. It just is a blessing to me that there's people out there that are willing to do that and they understand the importance of this. I want to keep you guys updated. I know a lot of you guys are far away and some in between. But again, it helps to be specific in prayer and just kind of know what to pray about. And I just like to share what's on my heart, and hopefully that encourages you. So that's why I'm doing these videos. And if you don't want to get these videos anymore, I encourage you just to unsubscribe to them and you won't be getting them. I definitely don't want to just fill somebody's inbox. I really would like these to go to people who want to hear them and want to be a part. So you can always unsubscribe to this. There's no pressure there, of course. Something that I've been hearing a lot of in a lot of conversations that I've been having is just kind of this question of, what is the most important thing that we could be doing, or what's the most important thing as a Christian that we need to be focused on? And I guess there's probably, if I had to just be asked that, I would probably come up with some different answers, just in the way that I've been kind of coached and some thinking. But when I read the Word, Jesus was asked this. Jesus was asked this, and Jesus is our example, so we can learn from him. And he was asked by a leader of religious law. I mean, this guy knew his stuff, and he tries to trick Jesus, actually, and he asks him the question. He says, what's the most important commandment? And Jesus gives him two examples. He says, one he took out of Deuteronomy, where it says, love God. And so he says, love God. And the other one he took out of Leviticus, which was love others, or love your neighbor. And so those were the two examples that Jesus gave. And, why is love so important? Well, Jesus said that all the law and all the commandments were given for these two simple reasons: that we would see and learn how to love God and how to love others as we should. For those reasons, that's the whole reason the law and the commandments were given, is that we could learn these things. So loving God and loving others is very important, and this is I love it because it takes the focus off us. I mean, we have this nature to us that we're born with. I have some people come in and they kind of feel guilty that they're a bit selfish, but the reality of it is that we were born with this nature that is somewhat, well, it's rebellious to God, and it kind of goes against what God would tell us to do, which is love Him and love others. And it kind of puts the focus more on us, and it turns into pride and bitterness, and it can turn into all this stuff. That's not the point here today. But we kind of were born with this nature, so it's kind of natural for us to always be thinking about ourselves. And isn't it true though? Like, doesn't it feel better when we give something to somebody rather than receive it? Doesn't it feel better when we go out of our way to help somebody with a flat tire? I mean, we all have stories like that, and it felt good, didn't it? Because God put those desires in our heart to look out for other people and to kind of have His character. And so this is just really exciting, and this is kind of the heart of Engage. This is kind of what makes Engage pump, is that we want to engage people with God. People matter, and people matter to engage because people matter to God. I mean, God so loved the world, right, that He gave His only Son, not to judge us, to save us. So people matter to God. And at Engage, people matter to us. And so at Engage, we want to engage people with God. And this is kind of done in our worship services that'll take place on Sundays, where you come in, you hear a message, and you hear about God, and then you kind of have something to take with you to where maybe you didn't know that about Him, and you learn a little bit about His character, and you also learn who we were intended to be. And then we want to engage people with the Word. We want to engage people with the Bible because the Bible is what gives us these promises. It's what tells us who God is, what His character is, and who we were intended to be. So we can see the promises. We can see how we should live. We can see kind of a roadmap to a more abundant or better life, or a more joyful life. And that's a promise that Jesus gives us. And then we want to engage people in prayer. Uh, Being engaged in prayer is very important. It's prayer is not meant to change God's mind or manipulate God into something. Prayer is meant to change us. It's where God speaks to us. It's where He kind of just speaks softly to us, and teaches us and guides us in His way. And you find out very quick that God is very loving, merciful, very forgiving, very patient, and that He just cares for us. Remember, hold on to John 3:16. If you're having doubts and you're a little bit fearful of God right now because of maybe some ways that you're living you know is not right, just take hold of that. God so loved the world, not to judge you, but to save you. That's why He sent Jesus. It's because He loved us, and through prayer He starts to change us, and it's just a wonderful thing. So we want to engage people in prayer, and then we want to engage people in our community. You know, the whole reason Engage, I believe, that I was called to start a church was because God cared about the community of Duluth, and so we need to be engaged in that community. We don't want to be a church that is inward focused, just kind of worried about our building or the activities that we do. We want to be a church that cares about our community, and cares about the people in our community. See, that's where the people on people come in. That's where the loving your neighbor comes in, is when we're engaged in our community. And then eventually the final step that we want to do is we want to engage people with the world. And that is where that might take a process a little bit longer, because we need to get established and things like that. But eventually we want to go out into the world, and we want to go into other countries and go on missions trips, and see where these needs are, and help people. Now, seeing these things, isn't that neat how we want to engage people with God? We want to engage people with the Word. We want to engage people with prayer. These things are to help us learn how to love God. It changes us. It teaches us about God. It teaches us who we are, and we realize that we're sinners that don't deserve a love that died on a cross for us, and it shows us why we love God, and it teaches us how to love God. And then the final two things, where we engage with our community, engage with the world, that is where we outreach, where we look out to the world, we see our neighbors in need, and we do something about it, that we love our neighbors like we love ourselves. And so that's what I think is very neat about Engage, and that God gave this vision to Engage to do this, is because these are the very commands that Jesus said is the most important, that you love God and that you love your neighbor. And so that's what we're going to do at Engage. I just want to thank you so much for being in prayer, and I want to continue to ask you to be in prayer. If you know anybody who's a prayer warrior, please send this video on, and just get them involved in prayer. Prayer is so important in this, in the planning, so that we can be changed, and that we can really hear the heartbeat of God. And we don't want to do things the same. We want to be different, but we just know that people matter. We want to love people. So we want to engage people, and we want to engage the world, and we want to engage God. It's going to be a great time. So we thank you in advance for your prayers, and just let me know feedback on these videos, anything that you're thinking, any questions, please email me. The email is pastorjosh@mandannaz.org. And you can also see that at the bottom of the email. I would love to get some email feedback from you guys. Love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon. Later.